Decoded.
Hey bookworms, welcome back to Book Decoded. Ever feel like you're stuck in a relationship, one you know was bad for you, like your brain is saying get out, but your heart is just like, nope, can't let go? Well, today we're going to figure out why that happens.
We're diving into Shahida Arabi's book, Breaking Trauma Bonds with Narcissists and Psychopaths, to decode it.
So straight up, what are trauma bonds? This sounds way worse than just your average relationship rough patch.
It is. See, these aren't just rough patches. We're talking about biochemical ties. They're formed through really specific manipulation tactics.
What, biochemical, like stuff changing in our brains?
Absolutely. Think about the Stockholm Syndrome you hear about, where hostages start feeling all positive about their captor.
Yeah, that's always so freaky.
Trauma bonds, it's similar. You get dependent on someone who's actually hurting you.
Okay, now that is creepy, and I am in. Tell me more. How does this even happen? What's going on in our brains that makes us get hooked like this?
It all starts with your brain's reward system.
Wow.
It's meant to make you feel good when you do good things.
Right, the things that help you survive make you happy. Like when you eat some awesome food or achieve a goal, you get that dopamine rush that makes you want to do it again and again.
Exactly. But here's the thing. Abusers, they figure out how to hijack that system. They create these intense highs and lows in the relationship, right? So your brain is always chasing that next dopamine hit, even though it's coming from the person who's hurting you.
So it's the unpredictability itself that gets addictive, like waiting for a slot machine to pay out, but it's a person.
You got it. The anticipation and the reward, they get even stronger because they're so random.
Oh, man.
But it isn't just dopamine doing its thing here. Cortisol, the stress hormone, it plays a big role too.
Oh, okay. So how does stress fit into this whole mess?
See, cortisol normally helps us deal with threats, but constant stress, like the kind you get in a toxic relationship, it throws your cortisol levels totally off. And you end up in a constant fight or flight mode, anxious all the time, on edge.
So basically you're getting hit from both sides, that dopamine high from the good times plus the cortisol surge from the bad.
It's like a double whammy, yeah.
Exactly. And when you put those together, bam, a powerful bond that's crazy hard to break.
Yeah.
But the first step to breaking free is getting how these bonds even work. You got to recognize the tactics they use to create them.
And that's where Arabi's research comes in, right? She didn't just talk about this. She actually did a study, 2023, that showed a direct link, being with a narcissist and experiencing actual PTSD symptoms.
That's right. Huge finding. Shows this isn't just, oh, I feel bad. This is measurable, provable trauma in your brain.
Whoa, that's intense. All right, so lay it on me. What are some of these manipulation tactics? Give me the insider info so I can see them coming a mile away.
Okay, well, one that's become, unfortunately, kind of a buzzword lately, but it's totally real, is gaslighting.
Oh, gaslighting, yeah. Everyone says that these days, but what does it actually look like in a relationship? What's going on? It's all about distorting your reality, making you doubt what you see and hear and experience. Arabi, she uses these powerful quotes from survivors in her book. And one that really got to me was this woman, she was describing how her partner, he'd constantly tell her, "You're crazy, you're so possessive."
For what? Like wanting to know where he was?
Just for asking why he hadn't texted back in days. Simple things.
Oh, man, I've heard that one before. Making you feel bad for reacting normally to their bad behavior. Classic, shifting the blame, right?
100%. And the scariest thing is, over time, this constant twisting of reality, it can make you rely on the abuser to tell you what's real, which of course makes the bond stronger.
Ugh, that's messed up. Okay, so gaslighting, red flag. What else? What other tricks should we be looking out for?
Another one Arabi explains, and she does it brilliantly, is intermittent reinforcement. It comes from animal training, believe it or not.
Like training a dog.
Yep. You give them treats, but here's the key. You do it inconsistently. That way, the dog gets desperate for that reward, works harder to please you. Same thing happens with people.
Hold on. So you mean in a relationship, when someone's only loving or attentive sometimes, it makes you crave it more?
Nailed it. It creates this crazy bond because you're always trying to figure out how to get back to those good times.
Wow, that is sneaky. And sadly, it makes a lot of sense. I can see how that would really mess you up mentally.
It's classic manipulation, and it's especially effective when you combine it with something like jealousy induction.
Okay, lay it on me. That sounds like a recipe for drama, for sure.
It's all about making you feel insecure, like you're always competing for their attention. They might talk about exes, flirt with other people right in front of you, or just make you feel like you aren't enough.
Ugh, that's so awful. But yeah, I can see how it works. If you're already insecure, you're going to cling harder to that relationship, even if it's toxic.
Right. And over time, this comparing you to others, it lowers your self-worth. You start believing you're not special or unique, so you depend even more on the abuser for validation.
It's like they chip away at your confidence until you need them. This is heavy stuff. I bet this is resonating with a lot of people listening.
Yeah, probably. These patterns, they're way more common than we think. That's why it's so important to talk about them.
Right. And, so far we've talked a lot about narcissism, but Arabi's book also covers psychopathy, right? Is that
Yeah.
like the same thing, or is there a difference?
There are some important distinctions, yeah. Both narcissists and psychopaths can be manipulative, but the key difference is psychopaths lack remorse. A narcissist, they might hurt you and not realize it or just not care, but a psychopath, they know exactly what they're doing and they enjoy it.
Whoa, hold on. So they know they're hurting you, but they just, can't feel bad about it.
Basically, yeah, which makes them potentially a lot more dangerous.
Okay, that is chilling. I'm starting to see why this book is so important. It's like a survival guide for these kinds of personalities.
It really is. And Arabi doesn't just focus on the bad stuff. She gives practical advice, hope for breaking free from these toxic bonds.
Okay, good. Because I think we all need a little bit of hope after this deep dive into the dark side of relationships. Arabi's advice for getting free.
Absolutely. She lays out clear, actionable steps that anyone can use to start taking back their power, rebuilding their lives.
Can't wait to hear more about that.
All right, so you've heard about the dark side of trauma bonds, right? How they get all tangled up in your brain.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
But don't worry, there's a way out. You're not alone in this, and there is hope. Let's talk about how to break free.
Yes, please. Give us the antidote to all this toxic stuff. Arabi's book, it's not just about diagnosing the problem, right? There are solutions in there too.
You got it. She gives you a whole toolbox of strategies, but she stresses that it's not one size fits all.
Okay, that makes sense.
What works for one person might not work for another, so you got to find the right combo for your situation.
Right, makes sense. So where do we even begin? What are some of the first steps Arabi talks about?
One I find super empowering is this idea, appraise, don't appease.
Ooh, I like that. Appraise, don't appease.
Instead of just reacting to the abuser's behavior, you step back, you think it through.
So it's like instead of getting sucked into all that emotional drama,
Yeah,
you're choosing how to respond,
right.
taking back control.
Exactly. Arabi gives a great example, documenting the abuser's bad behavior. Like, write stuff down. That makes it way harder for them to deny what they did.
Oh, that's smart. I can see how that'd be helpful, especially if it ends up in court or something.
For sure, documentation is key. But it's also about seeing the patterns for yourself, Seeing it all written out, it can be a real wake-up call.
Yeah, it's like undeniable proof. Okay, appraise, don't appease. Let's go into my notes. What else is there? What else does Arabi recommend?
Another good strategy is fade out. Think of it like slowly turning the volume down on how much the abuser affects your life.
Okay, I like that image. But how do you actually fade out on someone, especially if you live with them or have kids together?
It can look different for different people. It could mean setting stronger boundaries, spending less time with them, or finding ways to detach emotionally. It's about gradually disconnecting, both physically and emotionally.
So you're not cutting them off completely, but you're creating some space for yourself, getting some of that control back.
Yeah, exactly. This is especially useful if you're not ready for a total break yet, or if, like you said, you have kids and have to have some contact.
Yeah, makes sense. It's a more gradual approach. So you're creating space, starting to untangle yourself from their web. Then what? What's next?
As you create that space, you can start to energize and enrich. This is all about replacing those bad habits with good ones, filling that void with positive stuff, healthy ways of coping.
Okay, this is the part our listeners love. The actionable advice. Tell me more. What kind of things are we talking about? Give me some examples.
It could be anything that makes you feel good, nourishes your mind, body, or spirit, like exercise, meditation, hanging out with loved ones, getting back into hobbies you used to love, exploring new things, anything that brings you joy and helps you reconnect with yourself.
So it's about remembering who you are outside of that relationship, like rediscovering the things that make you feel alive again.
Yeah, it's like taking all that energy you were wasting on the negativity and putting it towards something good.
I like that. And this is where that neuroscience stuff we talked about earlier comes in handy, right? Remember how dopamine and cortisol get all messed up in these relationships?
Exactly. Energize and enrich is like taking your brain chemistry back.
Yeah.
You're doing things that release dopamine and regulate cortisol naturally.
So it's like hacking your own brain to break the addiction. I love that. It's so cool to see the science behind it.
Yeah, it helps to understand the why.
Totally. Okay, so we're talking about taking back your power, but there's one area that can feel especially powerless. divorce and custody battles.
Yeah.
I bet those get super messy with a narcissist or psychopath involved.
They can, for sure. And that's where that appraise, don't appease mindset becomes even more important.
Right, because it's easy to get swept up in the emotions, react without thinking.
Exactly. Remember, documentation is power. Keeping detailed records of their behavior, it can be crucial evidence in court.
It's like having receipts to back up what you're saying so they can't twist things around.
Yep. Arabi also mentions using co-parenting apps. They help keep communication on track, and everything gets logged, so that's good.
Ooh, good tip.
Mm-hmm.
So what else can you do to protect yourself in those high-stress legal situations?
The biggest thing is staying calm, staying focused, especially in court. Narcissists, psychopaths, they'll try to get under your skin, make you look crazy. You got to stick to the facts. Don't let them rattle you.
That's good advice, but man, it's got to be so hard when they're pushing your buttons on purpose.
It is. But remember, it's not about proving them wrong or winning an argument. It's about protecting yourself, getting your freedom, building a healthier life.
Right, it's bigger than that.
Yeah.
This is also helpful. Arabi's approach, it just seems so empowering, so practical. It's not just understanding the problem, it's about giving you the tools to actually overcome it.
Exactly. And I think it's important to highlight that sense of hope that runs through her whole book. Trauma bonds are strong, yes, but they're not unbreakable. You do have the strength to break free.
That's such a crucial message. You're not stuck forever. There is a way out.
No.
All right, so we've talked about what trauma bonds are, how they take root, and how to start breaking free.
Right, the heavy stuff.
But now, how do you avoid falling into the same trap again? It's like once bitten, twice shy, you know.
That's exactly where Arabi's insights on red flags come in. She spends a good chunk of the book on this.
Good, because I need that info.
Stressing that you got to spot those warning signs early.
Right, protect yourself before you get tangled up.
Exactly.
Okay, so spill it. What red flags should we be looking out for? Give me the cheat sheet to dodging these narcissists and psychopaths out in the dating world.
Well, remember that whole whirlwind romance thing we talked about? Love bombing, that super intense, over-the-top charm offensive at the beginning.
Oh yeah, the kind that makes you feel like you're in a movie.
Except it turns into a nightmare.
Right, exactly.
Arabi warns about that. When someone comes on that strong, that fast, it's often a sign they're trying to manipulate you.
So they're trying to sneak past your defenses before you even realize it's happening.
Yep. They want you hooked on their attention so you'll ignore all the other bad stuff.
Ah, sneaky. Okay, so love bombing is a big no-no. What else?
Pay attention to how they react when you open up about something personal, something you're vulnerable about. Do they actually seem to care, or do they just turn the conversation back to themselves?
Oh, right, like they can't handle hearing about your problems because they're too busy thinking about theirs.
Exactly. Another one is, do they constantly try to one-up you or put you down? Narcissists and psychopaths, they gotta feel superior.
They've got to be the best.
Yeah, so they'll often try to make you feel smaller so they can feel bigger.
It's like they're just oozing insecurity, you know? We've all met those people who always have to be the center of attention.
Totally. And don't ignore patterns of, like, unstable relationships in their past. If they're always jumping from one person to the next or constantly bad-mouthing their exes, that's a red flag.
Like they haven't figured out their own stuff, right?
Yep. Blaming everyone else but themselves.
Right. But sometimes it's not even a specific behavior. It's just a feeling, you know?
Yeah.
Like something's not right.
Arabi talks about that too, trusting your gut. If something feels off, even if you can't explain why, be careful.
It's like that little voice inside is trying to warn you, but we don't always listen.
We don't, and that's how we end up back in the same mess. You gotta tune into those gut feelings, have the courage to walk away if something feels wrong, even if the person seems amazing on the surface.
Yeah, better safe than sorry.
Mm-hmm. I love that this advice is all about you. You're in control, making choices to protect yourself.
It's about taking responsibility for your own happiness. And speaking of that, Arabi also talks about embracing being single. There's so much pressure to be in a relationship, but she challenges that.
It's like you're not a complete person unless you're part of a couple.
Right.
Arabi says being single can be a time for huge growth, you know? Figure out who you are, what you want.
Yeah, build a life you love on your own terms.
Exactly. And when you do that, you'll attract healthier relationships anyway, if that's what you want.
This has been so insightful. We've gone from like the science of trauma bonds to breaking free.
Yeah.
And now dating advice for healthy relationships. So much good stuff.
It's been great, and I hope everyone listening feels empowered by what we've talked about today.
Me too. And that's a wrap on Book Decoded. Until next time, everyone, keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep choosing healthy love.